Good afternoon, keepers of the cash. Gary B, the Casual Comic Guy here. Happy Savage Saturday, and it's time for another Savage Saturday comic review. This time, episode 46. And today we are reviewing Conan the Barbarian, issue 152, with a great Michael Golden cover. Just the whole thing's filled in, a lot going on, a lot to please the eyeball, and just to take in. And it has direct link to the story inside, which you don't see a lot in today's covers, so I really appreciate that. Inside, the interior art's by John Buscema, inks by Ernie Chan, Michael Fleischer story. And this story is about a god named Jurgozad who needs to trick a human into picking up his sword in the real world because he's been banished into another dimension, another world, where he can't return unless he can take the soul from one human and replace it with his own. So there's the major plot of the story. How's he going to trick Conan? He has the woman Cleolanthe next to him. She is in his thrall because her life basically depends upon him. And she's a powerful person in her own right, but he does have his hooks into her, and right now she is beholden to him. So they are watching Conan from the netherworld that they're trapped in, and sees that Conan is this great warrior, and he also knows that Conan is destined to be king one day, and his grand plan is to enslave Conan to him, rule through Conan, and make Conan's kingdom eventually that is ruled by Conan to be his main pivotal point in all these other worlds he's going to rule. So he's got a grand design in the works. And I may have said that a bit garbled up, but there's a lot going on. And he calls him a wild man barbarian, but he knows that there's greatness in him. And he's got to trick him into grabbing and using this sword that's in Conan's world, and it happens to be residing in Samaria right now, where Conan is fighting these bandits that are trying to rob him and take his gold and his horse. Conan, of course, slays them, and he sends Cleolanthe forth to trick the barbarian into grasping the sword. So we go into this world, and the plot's in motion. Conan has moved on from defending himself, his purse, and his horse, and he's traveling about when he hears a girl scream. And she's in the clutches of a beast. We, of course, can see that it's Cleolanthe, so we know something's afoot. He does not know that. It's just a woman in distress. And Conan sets forth to save her, as Conan does. Conan, of course, slays the great beast, the winged beast that it is. And she just makes a big play at thanking him and being in his good graces because he is her savior. She is, of course, playing him right now. She has no connection to him beyond that, which she needs him to appease Jurgozad so he doesn't do anything to her. Now, Conan's sword is broke, but she says, "Don't worry, I know where there's a sword close by. Let me travel with you, and we'll get it." So as they're leaving, Conan tells her, "Don't worry about that beast. Just forget about it. I slew it. It won't bother you anymore." But unbeknownst to Conan, the beast is actually fading out of reality to him. It was a conjuring of hers to trick Conan into saving her. And then they come upon these ruins, and in these ruins, there's a statue of Jurgozad holding this sword. Conan takes it up. He immediately feels some kind of power about it, and unseen and unbeknownst to him, she blasts these rays out of her eyes, which create an army for Conan to fight. So Conan's got to slay a few different times within this period of time for Jurgozad to be able to take over his body and enslave them to him. And Conan just runs through these guys like a field of wheat, man. He's just cutting them down. And by the end, because there was so many that she conjured, he can't believe he's done it. But part of it is the sword. You can feel the sword taking control and slaying for him. And Conan's just sitting there crouched over these bodies, and he can't believe he was able to kill them all. Jurgozag's really happy. He can already feel Conan getting a little bit weaker, and the sword is starting to glow with his life's energies. So then we're at a campfire. It's nighttime. He's talking with Cleolanthe, and she's starting to become a little bit enthralled by Conan. He's a very noble creature to her. It's the first time that someone's actually stood up for her, just to stand up for her. Someone that didn't want anything else from her except to protect and do the right thing. Not use her, not as a means to an end or anything else. Just Conan was a noble, courageous soul, and there's something that she sees in that. But Jurgozag can see that happening from the netherworld, and he's kind of giving her a warning that, if you betray me, there's a grisly fate that'll befall you. Don't you forget it. And she's a little bit frightened of that because she knows what'll happen to her, the horrible death that's awaiting her should she fail him. And she conjures the next creature, this giant lizard-like thing, which is just a great John Buscema, Ernie Chan creation. It looks great. It has that old Ray Harryhausen feel to it when you look at it on the comic page, and it just makes you enjoy it that much more. The art is just incredible. Conan just looks fantastic, and you're just getting great action sequences. And I know I'm putting pictures up. I'll still hold this up though so you can see stuff, and you'll have the other pictures. But what an entertaining story. So the more and more that Conan defends her, the more he uses his sword, the more his soul's being drained, his life energies are going. But the more she's starting to see the value in the person of who Conan is. And her loyalties are really starting to become divided. So now Conan's collapsed after defending her. He is basically drained, but the sword picks him up, and the sword is slaying the dragon for him, and it's after this that he falls. And, she's saying, you mustn't give up, the dragon's begun to stagger, praise the gods, Conan, you've triumphed the whole 9 yards. And she tells him, listen to me, barbarian, I'm a woman who's known many men in her time, but never in all my lifetime have I known a braver, more valiant man than you. These are the qualities that she's really become enthralled with, that she's really appreciating in him. She's only known duplicity, and she also kind of hints that she's been alive a long time, in her many lives, she says. So, kind of gives Conan an idea that there's more to her than meets the eye. And Jurgozag's in his dimension that he's been banished to, and he can hear her thoughts as she can hear his, and she's not going to make Conan do one more fight, which will totally make him succumb to this blade and Jurgozag. Instead, she is just refusing to do it, and Jurgozag sends people forth to fight Conan regardless, even though she won't do it. Now, Conan is reaching for the sword, and she knows if he picks it up, that's going to be the end of Conan. His soul will be taken over. He'll be imprisoned forever by Jurgozad, and Jurgozad will make this reality the cornerstone upon which he rules all the other realities, through Conan becoming king of Aquilonia eventually. But what she does is she blasts Conan with her rays and knocks him unconscious, so he can't do that. She's saving his life. And she kills all the creatures before her with her blast. And she is just ferocious. She is power personified. She's all strength. And you see the nobility of her character starting to come out. It was probably easy for her before to turn on people, knowing people were going to want something else from her. But Conan was never that. While Conan is unconscious, she slays those creatures. She throws the sword of Jurgozag over a cliff into the depths of the water, and thus sealing her fate, but saving Conan's soul and life in the process. Alright, and she tells Conan what happened when he wakes up. She says, Jurgozad is my master, Conan. 'Twas he who dispatched me from this netherworld to steal your soul away, so that through you he can endeavor to reestablish his domination over this mortal realm. but instead of doing this as he bade me, I fell in love with you. And Conan asks her if he's free of him now, and she says yes, but her betrayal has severed the Eldritch link that bound her to him. And then she turns to dust in Conan's arms. Not the first female that's withered in Conan's arms after a spell has been broken by her enslavement to another more powerful god or being. It's definitely a trope that's been used in the Conan stories a few times, but it's definitely effective in this one because you saw the journey of her becoming a bit nobler throughout the story, and it really endeared you to her. At first, you found her kind of despicable, but throughout this, you really started to enjoy this character because there was more to her than the base elements. So Conan says Cleolanthe, and then but she's gone, and then he's off on his horse to take off. And the last panel is, of course, Jurgosad promising to combat Conan again on another day. Conan can't hear him; he's in another world. But it's just a great cliffhanger in the end of the story to set up something that could happen down the road. Overall, we're going to give this story a B plus. It was good. Like I said, it's rehashed plots and themes that we've seen before in a Conan tale. That doesn't make it any less fun, though. This is Michael Fleischer's spin on it. It was a really good spin on it. Conan and has never looked better. You know, you've got John Buscema and Ernie Chan, who are just one of my all-time favorite teams. Just filling out every panel greatly, making it look good. So we gave the story a B plus. We're going to give the art an A plus. The art is just amazing. The conclusion, I'm going to give an A plus because I really enjoyed the journey of the Cleolanthe character throughout this narrative. And also, Michael Fleischer writes a good Conan. He keeps him in character. He gives Conan the traits that you want to see in Conan. Conan's smart, he's cunning, he's noble, he's also savage, and he's also not someone to be toiled with or messed with. But he balances all that in a great narrative and keeps the plot moving forward, and he adds to the character, and he fills out the characters, the periphery characters, really nicely. He makes you care about them, or at least dislike them in a way through their actions, but that advances the characters of even the evil ones. So I've really been enjoying Michael Fleischer's stories upon revisiting them. You know, you get lost in how great Roy Thomas was, and then you forget like some of the great writing from Bruce Jones, Michael Fleischer, when they did these fill-in issues and their little runs that they had on this series, and they're actually really well done, and they're really good, and they really add to the mythos of Conan. So overall, we're going to give this issue a big, solid, casual A plus, and really enjoyable, great art, cool cover by Michael Golden, gives you a little bit different something to look at, and another interpretation. But that's it for this week, guys. I hope you enjoyed Savage Saturday Comic Review 46, and until next time, keep it casual.